Howdy, folks, and welcome to this brand new episode of the Rochester Indie Musician Spotlight, Rochester's premier music and interview show. We're counting down to 50 regularly scheduled episodes this season, and it's the biggest yet, with the biggest names, the most sponsors, and the most support from the community as well. And joining me today is we have a lot of names here. We'll narrow them down, but I think at least I got some of them: progressive pop, jam, world, groove. We'll get to all that. But this is Moving Mountains, formerly The Goods. We're going to talk to them in a moment, but first, let's hear from the people who make this possible.
This episode was mixed by owner and operator of Wicked Squid Studios, Josh Pettinger. Please visit their website to find out how you can become a member of their studio today. This episode is brought to you by Bop Shop Records, Bernunzio Uptown Music, Rowe Photo, and SoundSource. Bernunzio Uptown Music, located in Rochester's East End, has been providing Rochester and the world with quality used string instruments since 1976. Bernunzio also offers concerts, workshops, and jam sessions. This season, we're in this warm, local, and creative space, Bop Shop Records. Located right outside the city at 1460 Monroe Avenue, Bop Shop Records is your home for blues, classic rock, jazz, and classical in vinyl for the past 35 years. Rowe Photo is your Rochester home for photo, home theater installation, audio, and accessory needs. For 3 generations since 1898, Rowe Photo is there for you with second-to-none customer service. Stop by Rowe Photo's 2 convenient locations today. Trusted by musicians, recording engineers, and consumers, SoundSource is the place to go for instruments, gear, consignment needs, repairs, and to have all your questions answered by knowledgeable and friendly staff. Visit them at 161 Norris Drive for all things audio today. Additional support for the Rochester Indie Musician Spotlight comes from 3 Heads Brewing and Joe Bean Coffee Roasters.
Okay, guys, thank you so much for joining me. We'll introduce everyone in a second, but want to get this out of the way. Keen observers will note that we're not in Bop Shop Records as we usually are. We are actually in the green room of 3 Heads Brewing. This is where this is going down. This is not something we do often on the Spotlight, where we're kind of like debuting a new band. But you cats have been on the scene for a while. Everyone loves the Goods. But now it's Moving Mountains. So we thought, well, hey, we couldn't get the Goods, so we're doing Moving Mountains. Yeah. It's a little bit different, and we'll talk about that. But let's make sure we know everybody first. We have Miles McHugh on guitar and vocals. Fans of the show will recognize him from Grand Canyon Rescue episodes, one of my favorites to date, not only because I survived doing that whole thing myself. We have Lucitti on keyboards and vocals. Say hey. You have a lot of keys, man.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
If I do it, I do it big.
I like it. Go bigger. Go big or go home. Chris Meeker on bass and vocals, and Jeff Woody Woodruff on percussion. So, Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me. We'll pick a direction. Chris, let's start with you. Can you tell us where you're from, your musical influences, and a little bit of your background?
I'm originally from New Jersey, and then by way of Boston and Indiana, I ended up back here in Rochester.
Cool.
So take that for what you will.
How long have you been playing the bass for?
Since I was about 13, 14 years old.
Wow.
Started as guitarist. And
you went over to the dark side.
Well, I just always liked playing bass better in bands, and I just continued studying guitar, the whole time through, and just transferred all that knowledge over to the bass because I like playing lead bass.
Right. Who doesn't like playing lead bass? Yeah.
It's like Chris Squire, was
right.
my early, big influence, and then Geddy,
Dig.
How can you not love Geddy, right?
It's true. And I'll drop in Jocko because it's Jocko.
Of course.
Everyone loves
yeah,
that. Sure.
That came later, though, as
right.
as I became more immersed in jazz and things, and of course, jam band scene and all that stuff. I learned more about improvisation, and then, broke out of those strictures of Prague, I guess.
Right.
Incorporated, keep all that style,
And for a while there, Prague was a dirty word.
It was in the 80s. I mean,
Is it not a dirty word anymore?
That's
like a question.
Circles you run in.
I was going to say.
It was a great thing in the 1970s, and then in the 1980s, there seemed to be some kind of reactionary bias against it.
Exactly.
But now we're not sure.
Yeah.
Now in 2018,
Wizard
we're not
robes
sure.
went out of style, I think.
Wizard
Yeah.
robes, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring that back.
You're going to see wizard robes tonight.
I'll wear a wizard kerchief tonight.
All right. I dig it. Miles, let's go to you. Where are you from, man?
I'm from Rochester. I've been around a little bit, moved a little bit on the outside, but always come back home.
Yeah.
So I've been here for a while.
Yeah. And what about your how far back does your axe playing go?
Oh, I started playing when I was 7 years old.
Wow.
So it's been a long time.
Yeah.
Took lessons when I started, but I moved out into the
Rural. the opposite of what he meant to say.
the rural area, and there was no guitar teachers out there, so I had to just sort of teach myself. So that's what I've been doing for the last
Cool.
25 years.
Just learning off of records?
Mm-hmm.
What kind of stuff is it?
everything.
Big.
Before, my schoolwork would suffer because I would just have a song in my head all day, and I couldn't wait to get home and sit home and learn how to play it. And that's what I would do, and then
Cool.
that's what I do.
Self-talk here. All right, Woody, let's go to you, man.
Yes, I was born in Medina, New York, which is about an hour west of Rochester, out near Niagara Falls. And I grew up in Medina, New York, and I went to college in Fredonia, and I studied music and radio, and got degrees in music and radio. And then in 2001, I think it was early 2001, I moved up here to Rochester, and I've been living here ever since. Actually, last summer, my family and I moved down to Canandaigua, which is beautiful. We love it down there. But for the bulk of the time, I lived here in Rochester, and it's a wonderful city. And Rochester, for being a relatively small city and a relatively small market, has a huge music scene.
We'll get back to that's a
Yeah.
lightning round question. So
Oh, okay.
I don't.
Yeah.
So you've
We
either
won't get
seen
into
the
that.
show before or
Yeah.
you read my script.
Oh, I
Either one.
didn't. Well, a little bit of both.
It's okay.
A little bit of both.
Can you tell us about your drum playing? What are some of your influences? When did you get started? That sort of thing.
I started when I was a little kid. I think it was just one of those things. It goes back so far I can't even remember. I think I started playing formally when I was around 9 or 10 years old. But
Yeah.
I formally played drums around 9 or 10 years old. But it went back even farther than that. I just always seemed to be obsessed with drums when I was a little kid, and I would do the stereotypical thing of a kid banging on pots and pans
Right.
and Tupperware bowls on my parents' kitchen floor. And then as I got older, I had a lot of wonderful family members and friends in my life who encouraged me to continue with my musical journey. And I remember a good friend of mine, Mr. Dubs, who we called him Mr. Dubs. And one of the best lessons he ever taught me when I was a kid, when I was a young musician, was, don't get pigeonholed. Don't limit yourself to just one style. You listen to rock, listen to jazz, listen to classical music, listen
Even
to
prog.
Yeah, even prog too.
prog.
Yeah, listen to some prog once in a
Much
while.
more.
So yeah, I'm influenced by jazz and rock and all kinds of different styles. And
Yeah.
studying music in college, I was exposed to a huge array of musical styles, contemporary percussion and classical orchestral music and West African drumming and all kinds of things like that.
And you like Rush too, so.
I do like Rush.
I didn't want to be the guy who brings up Neil Peart, but
Yeah.
I had a feeling.
Yeah.
That's where
Every-
where
yeah.
Woody and I met on.
Yeah, that's one of the first things that Chris and I bonded over was our love of Alex Lifeson, Geddy Lee, and Neil Peart. We love
Holy
Rush.
Trinity.
Yeah.
We'll be back to those guys. Lou,
Yeah.
why don't you bring us home?
Oh, sure, yeah. I'm from Glens Falls, New York, hometown of Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Anyone
Yeah.
Really?
fan of early 80s
I know
wrestling?
that. Why didn't you ever tell me that? I'm learning that just now.
Yeah. You never asked.
I'm sorry.
Whoa, he just dropped the gauntlet of
I know,
shame,
I
and
know.
you just picked that right
I'm
up.
ashamed that I never asked you about Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Right. Yeah, so I moved out to Rochester about 15 years ago. I've been working at the Eastman School since then. It's the reason I came here. But,
Yeah.
since I've been here, it's been an amazing experience.
Yeah, man. So can you tell us a little bit about how you started playing keyboards and then how you grew into playing 4 keyboards at once?
Oh, well, that's going to be a new thing.
Okay,
Brand
that's
new
exciting.
tonight.
Yeah.
I started like Miles when I was 7.
Yeah.
My mom actually played a little bit when I was a kid, and I used to hear her play and wanted to be able to do that. So she got me as far as she could.
Yeah.
Started taking lessons at 7, and it's just kind of been a journey ever since.
Climbing up on the hillside, I dreamed alone. Calling out to the angels where I belong. It's no use, I can barely see.
Okay. All right, so let's come back to what we talked about a little bit earlier. Now, this is Moving Mountains, but formerly it was The Goods. And Miles and Woody, you were in The Goods for 10 years. Can you take us back to the beginning of The Goods? How did The Goods first start?
Well, I was in a band for a long time. We were doing a lot of cover material, a lot of jam band stuff, and that just sort of fizzled out. We did that for about 6 years. And I had known Woody through some mutual friends, and I knew he was an excellent drummer. He was actually in my brother-in-law's band a long time ago.
John Bondano.
So we had talked, and I go, hey, we're not doing anything. I don't know if you're not busy, you want to come jam and see what happens. We're trying to do a little more of an original thing instead of a cover. So we asked him, and he said, "Yeah, I would love to do that." And
Yeah, and it was easy because we had been friends before that, so
Right.
we were familiar with each other, and we, like Miles said, we had mutual friends and family members and that kind of thing. So that groundwork had already been laid out. So it was just a matter of starting to play music together. which
Right.
was great.
And when you're first starting out, what did that music sound like? How was writing songs right at the beginning? The Goods had been around for a while, and it's evolved over time. So can you sort of tell us what the sound of the Goods came to be in its sort of like final stages?
It was an evolution over
Yeah.
the 10 years that we were together. And
at first we were more like a power trio. It was just drums, bass, guitar.
Yeah.
we started out very stripped down. We were a trio, as Miles said. But one of the things that struck me when we first started playing together, the original bass guitar player for the Goods was Ben Chabone. And when Ben, Miles, and I started just jamming together informally, the first thing that struck me was how full the sound was for being just a trio. And then as time went by, we wanted to augment the sound even more. And then in the summer of 2011 is when Lou joined the Goods. We're very happy he joined the band because he's a great friend and an amazing musician. And all these guys are very talented musicians. And it's a treat to play music with them. But yeah, it was an evolution over time. I think it started like impromptu jamming and musical exploration, and then we got into writing songs that were a bit more structured, had a little more pop sensibility, but also kept in touch with that world beat
Right.
jam kind of structure or kind of an influence from that. And we never limited ourselves. I don't think there was ever a protective nature of the Goods or Moving Mountains as it is today. I think we're always open to different sounds and styles, but at the same time, there's always something about it that makes us sound like us.
Right.
And I don't know quite what that is, but there's just an element within our playing together that I think it has defined where we are, from jam music to world beat music to pop to rock to blues to reggae, a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
And then about a year and a half ago, when Chris Meeker joined the band, I think that really brought us to the level where we needed to be.
Right, and that's why you decided to change the name from the Goods to Moving Mountains. You were like discovering a fresh sound. You wanted to sort of try something new with a new name.
Yes.
Fresh start.
Yeah. Yeah, and we wanted to have that identity because we loved being in the Goods. We loved the music of that band. We loved that experience, but we arrived at a point where we wanted all four of us to feel like it was our band, and with the Goods, we didn't. We were saying this to Scott Regan the other day. We didn't want Chris to feel like he was a hired gun or just someone filling in for somebody else. Because our original bass player Ben decided to leave the band, and he left on good terms. But when he left, Lou, Miles, and I decided we wanted to continue making music together, and it was important to us to find a great bass guitar player. And Chris Meeker was at the top of our list. A wonderful person and a good friend and a talented musician. Yeah. I'm happy you answered the call. I remember calling him that day and feeling a little nervous, like, oh, I hope he says yes. He needs to say yes.
You should have like made a little box, like a wettering box, but instead you opened it up and it was like a little bass guitar.
Yeah.
It was like, will you be in our band?
Yeah, like a little guitar pick
Right.
or
Should
something.
have set up the whole thing. All right, well, thank you so much, guys. Really appreciate the retrospective. We're going to go into the last part of our interview here. This is the lightning round. If you've seen the show before, you know these questions. They are 3 big picture questions, and even though it's called the lightning round, feel free to take your time and answer them and just chime in when you got something. If you could accomplish one thing in music and be happy, what would it be? Oh, I wasn't kidding. You guys were looking at me surprised, like it wasn't like you were like, oh.
That's a almost existential
I would
question.
say constantly feel creatively satisfied. That's the goal.
To blend the creative satisfaction with the unfortunately necessary financial requirements of surviving in this world.
I would just hate to be bored with playing music. I
Yeah.
hate to get to that point where you're like, and I've been there before in different groups and stuff like that, where you just, you're like, I guess I gotta do this.
And we want to avoid.
It's discouraging, and it's I've always wanted to keep
pushing forward,
growing and being satisfied.
That is why our University of Rochester's motto is Meliora. That means ever higher in Latin. You just keep
right on, keep pushing forward.
I know.
Keep climbing, and that's what we want to do. Like Miles said, we want to avoid boredom. We want to avoid complacency.
Right.
We're always challenging ourselves to create the best music that we can.
You touched on this a little bit, Woody. What makes Rochester such a great place for original music to live and breathe?
I don't know if there's anything that can be defined about it, but there seems to be some magical element about the Rochester area and the city of Rochester and the surrounding Rochester area that it's a beautiful music scene. It's just, like I said before, Rochester is a relatively small city, but there's a huge music community around Rochester, and there's so many wonderful musicians.
And the way people support each other too, I think,
Yeah,
is huge. It's
a lot
amazing.
of support and camaraderie between the bands and musicians around the Rochester area, and there's a huge amount of talent and diversity and strength and support within the Rochester music community.
It's
And
very inspiring, especially lately. It just seems like
Beautiful.
there's been just a huge explosion. And
yeah,
before you're like, it's just local bands. I'll go see somebody else, pay the big ticket, and go see somebody else. But nowadays, you can see anybody that's just as good as anybody else for a fraction of the cost in a great club at home.
Right.
They
Yeah, you
really
don't have
are
to travel
inspiring.
very
They
far.
blow your minds. There's just
Yeah.
get out there and see live music in Rochester.
It does make it very difficult to make decisions when you're looking at the weekly gig
Yeah,
lists and you're just like,
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. It's a nice
Every
way to
band
start.
is
oh
great.
my God, I can't do all of it. At times we
Every
wish we
show
were.
is good.
I know. Times we wish we were Aaron Winters and could just walk
yeah.
in anywhere.
How does he do it?
Dude,
Are there two of him?
Photographer extraordinary.
Right, like
At least two.
did he clone himself? And like
he
the
did.
one guy is the dude who takes all the wildlife photos,
Amazing.
and then the
Yeah.
other dude.
Yeah, because he has the wildlife photos, the band photos, the music photos.
All praise Aaron Winters.
Aaron Winters is pervasive and amazing. I think between Aaron Winters and Frank DeBlaze, Frank DeBlaze and Aaron Winters have the Rochester music scene covered. In
Totally,
all
and the other
areas,
one more thing I wanted to add. I don't answer these questions often, but I think what makes it interesting is not that musicians support each other, but we have a lot of people in the community. I mean, you mentioned Scott Regan. We've talked about Aaron Winters. I mean, there are people out there who don't make music for a living who are going out there supporting and contributing to it.
Yeah.
Very true.
We got one more for you. Do you have any advice for aspiring artists? I know.
Stay true to your voice.
Yeah.
Really.
That's good.
Yeah. Don't let someone else steer it.
Yeah.
Just commit to it.
Yep.
Yeah.
If you have a
Believe it.
vision, stay true to it.
And get out there.
If
Yeah.
anything, if you try it and it fails, at least you did it.
Yeah.
At least you can say you tried.
Yeah, don't let anybody discourage you.
Have a thick skin. Yeah.
That's important.
Yeah.
That was
You
important.
have to have a thick skin and a strong sense of resilience. But like Miles, Lou, and Chris said, just stay true to yourself. I know it sounds idealistic or somewhat naive, but you just have to stay true to yourself as an artist, and get out there. Like Chris said, get out and perform as much as you can, because that's how you achieve what you need to achieve
Right.
as a creative person, as a musician, and always try to put on a good show, always try to perform as well as you can,
Yeah.
and always have high quality music, and
Practicing's good too.
yeah, practicing.
Well,
10,000 hours in, right?
Yeah, that-
yeah, yeah.
All right,
Right.
gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank
I'm
you,
Dan
Dan.
Gross, and thank you so much for watching this episode of the Rochester Indie Musician Spotlight. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned for Moving Mountains.
This episode was mixed by owner and operator of Wicked Squid Studios, Josh Pettinger. Please visit their website to find out how you can become a member of their studio today. This episode is brought to you by Bop Shop Records, Bernunzio Uptown Music, Rowe Photo, and Sound Source. Bernunzio Uptown Music, located in Rochester's East End, has been providing Rochester and the world with quality used string instruments since 1976. Bernunzio also offers concerts, workshops, and jam sessions. This season, we're in this warm, local, and creative space, Bop Shop Records. Located right outside the city at 1460 Monroe Avenue, Bop Shop Records is your home for blues, classic rock, jazz, and classical in vinyl for the past 35 years. Rowe Photo is your Rochester home for photo, home theater installation, audio, and accessory needs. For 3 generations since 1898, Rowe Photo is there for you with second-to-none customer service. Stop by Rowe Photo's 2 convenient locations today. Trusted by musicians, recording engineers, and consumers, Sound Source is the place to go for instruments, gear, consignment needs, repairs, and to have all your questions answered by knowledgeable and friendly staff. Visit them at 161 Norris Drive for all things audio today. Additional support for the Rochester Indie Musician Spotlight comes from 3 Heads Brewing and Joe Bean Coffee Roasters.
All right, then.
I don't always get to ask that, so you know,
Right.
like might as well be prepared this time.
from a worn-out winter, blow a kiss to the sky. They held out to the warm wind sprinters, still you might as well try. After the sun went down with all its glory, you grasp for glimpses of light, to turn a page on a forgotten story, consumed by the night. After a while, you'll start to see me, and everything you heard was told in lies. And anytime you'll ever need me, I'll be right there by your side. After everything had come to pass, you broke free from the seas. Try to grab a hold of what will last and fall down on your knees. After the day began another morning, after what you've been through, realize it's all that tells the story. It's all up to you. And after a while, you'll start to see me, and everything you heard was told a lie. And anytime you ever need me, I'll be right there by your side. Into the night, looking behind you, searching for reasons, wondering why. It's alright, someone's beside you. Through all of the seasons, there's no need to cry, cry. Another story from a worn-out winter, blow a kiss to the sky. You held out till the warm wind splendor, still you might as well try. After the sun went down with all its glory, grasp for glimpses of light, to turn a page on a forgotten story, consumed by the night. And after a while, you'll start to see me, and everything you heard was told in lies. And anytime you ever need me, I'll be right there by your side. I'll be right there by your side. I'll be right there by your side.
This episode was mixed by owner and operator of Wicked Squid Studios, Josh Pettinger. Please visit their website to find out how you can become a member of their studio today. This episode is brought to you by Bop Shop Records, Bernunzio Uptown Music, Rowe Photo, and sound source. Bernunzio Uptown Music, located in Rochester's East End, has been providing Rochester and the world with quality used string instruments since 1976. Bernunzio also offers concerts, workshops, and jam sessions. This season, we're in this warm, local, and creative space, Bop Shop Records. Located right outside the city at 1460 Monroe Avenue, Bop Shop Records is your home for blues, classic rock, jazz, and classical in vinyl for the past 35 years. Rowe Photo is your Rochester home for photo, home theater installation, audio, and accessory needs. For 3 generations since 1898, Rowe Photo is there for you with second-to-none customer service. Stop by Rowe Photo's 2 convenient locations today. Trusted by musicians, recording engineers, and consumers, SoundSource is the place to go for instruments, gear, consignment needs, repairs, and to have all your questions answered by knowledgeable and friendly staff. Visit them at 161 Norris Drive for all things audio today. Additional support for the Rochester Indie Musician Spotlight comes from 3 Heads Brewing and Joe Bean Coffee Roasters.
Well, we thank you all for being here tonight at the Bop Shop.
Thanks, Tom.
Yes.
This is on TV anyway, so.
Thank you to Tom at the Bop Shop. Thank you to Dan with the Indie Music Spotlight. And thank you all for being a wonderful audience.
Mm-hmm.
We are moving mountains from Rochester. You can like Moving Mountains Music on Facebook. And that's Miles, that's Lou, that's Chris, I'm Woody. And we're happy to be here with all of you. Thank you all very much.
Is your CD out?
We're working on that. Yeah. We'll have updates on our Facebook page, Moving Mountains Music on Facebook. So our technical wizard Lou is helping us.
You're engineer.
Our
guy fitting that description here.
I prefer the term sorcerer, thank you.
He's a sorcerer. Yes. Yeah. He has cauldrons and potions, and he's our.
Yeah. Oh, nothing to do with audio either.
He is our audio wizard, and he's helping us record an album. So hopefully, sometime in the not too distant future, we'll have an album released to the public.
There's some songs available on SoundCloud right now.
Yeah, our song "Stay Away," the song we played, I think 2 songs ago. That world music kind of a
And this
song.
next song.
What is
Oh, we
the
doing
next
Daybreakers?
song? The Daybreakers, right? This
It's a good segue.
Yeah, perfect setup.
Good plan, though.
But yeah, the song we played 2 songs ago, "Stay Away," is on SoundCloud, and this song we're about to play is another one of our original songs called "The Daybreakers," and that's on SoundCloud too. Well, thank you. All right, we'll play "The Daybreakers." Thank you, Dan.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Thank you to Tom at the Bop Shop.
Thanks for
Thank you for supporting your local record stores and support your local businesses, support your local musicians.
Oh, yeah?
And thank you to Tom, thank you to Dan, and thank you all for being a great audience.
Yeah.